The Seattle Seahawks rebuild is going much better than people really expected it to. Everyone thought the Seahawks were going to be a team picking in the top 5 in the 2022 NFL Draft, looking for a new franchise quarterback since they traded away Russell Wilson in the 2022 offseason. But what ultimately happened was Geno Smith played like an MVP candidate most of the year, and the people they drafted in 2022 made huge steps and played in key roles for them in the 2022 season. So let's take a deep dive into the 2022 offseason and the season that followed, and see how the Seahawks really did have a good year. So coming into the 2022 offseason, the Seahawks needed to move on from Russell Wilson, as the team wasn't really contending and they needed a lot of help on both sides of the ball. So when Seattle dealt Wilson to the Broncos, many thought it would be a long-awaited rebuild that the Seahawks were needing to do. But their 2022 draft class and the play of Geno Smith shocked everyone. So who did they take with their first pick in the NFL draft? Well, they took Charles Cross, a potential cornerstone piece on the offensive line, who really showed what he could do in college, but it was a little bit of a mixed bag. So, coming into his rookie year, people had expectations for him, but they also realized it was a rookie tackle. How did he do? Well, in his first year, obviously, he had growing pains, but that's obviously normal for a rookie offensive tackle, especially when they're playing the blind side. He was pretty solid, though, only allowing 7 sacks as a rookie, which in my opinion is pretty good, especially with all the competition he was going against in that NFC West. Now, in the second round, the Seahawks drafted Boye Mafe and Kenneth Walker. Now, Mafe did have his struggles throughout the year, and he wasn't getting the production that they were hoping for, only 3 sacks on the year. But you look at the other second-round pick, and Kenneth Walker, on the other hand, had an amazing year where he rushed for over 1,000 yards and an average of 4.6 yards per carry and 9 touchdowns. He also had 165 yards in the receiving game, so the Seahawks got great value out of their running back position and were comfortable enough with him going forward to let Rashaad Penny and Travis Homer walk in free agency. Now, obviously, Boye Mafe is a type of pass rusher that is going to need developing, as he just was really raw coming out of Minnesota and somebody that hopefully the Seahawks can develop and make better. But if you look at the rest of this draft, they hit on a lot of picks. You look at Abraham Lucas, was a solid right tackle for him during this year. Kobe Bryant, a decent corner who really had his struggles. Obviously, you can tell by his late round pick, he probably wasn't going to be as productive. Bo Mountain, somebody that also is going to be probably not used as much this year, but last year he also wasn't used too much, as they do have 2 other wide receivers that are huge in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. You also have Tariq Woolen, who blew up this year and just went crazy, showing off his amazing speed and how he could play the corner position as a former wide receiver. Now, you obviously don't expect to get these type of contributors in the late rounds like Abraham Lucas and Tyreek Woolen, but that's just what the Seahawks did. And that's what they've done for years, and that's how they build their teams, is they just get good picks in the late rounds. Tariq Woolen is going to be one of the best corners, I have a feeling, for the next decade or longer, and Abraham Lucas is going to be a solid right tackle for the Seahawks. So, obviously, we just went over the draft class, so let's get into really how the season went. Seahawks had an amazing year, basically, with Geno Smith as their new quarterback, where he threw for 4,282 yards, 30 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, and they ended in the playoffs. While the team they made the shocking trade with in the Denver Broncos played horribly and had so many issues where they fired their head coach in the middle of the season, Russell Wilson wasn't playing like himself, and really the team struggled with injuries and a lot more issues of just not having a lot of talent since they traded it a lot of way to Seattle. Now, if you look at it, Seattle's season was good, but there were so many holes on their defense where they still needed pass rush and the run defense was very weak, so that ultimately led to a lot of losses and where the run defense was gashed so much that they weren't able to come back because the defense could not get a stop. So it really hurt them. Now, obviously they're a playoff team, but in reality it is the playoff team they was only brought there because of Geno Smith and the offense. The defense was so lacking that it really just led to them losing by 18 to a much more well-rounded San Francisco team. And for a little bit of a point, the Carolina Panthers rushed for over 200 yards on the Seattle Seahawks defense. That's horrible, and that's just not going to get you to win ball games. So what did the Seahawks do in the offseason to address this? Well, let's take a look. The Seahawks did start off the offseason by signing Draymond Jones, and they also signed Devin Bush, brought back Robbie Wagner, Julian Love, Jarron Reed was brought back, and they also brought in Evan Brown. They re-signed Drew Lock and Geno Smith to a huge extension that took up some money, but not enough, so they went out and still got some people. So the Seahawks were definitely busy this offseason. They brought in people to help fix the front 7 with guys like Draymond Jones, Devin Bush, Bobby Wagner, and Jarron Reed. Now, how much will that help the Seahawks is still up for debate because these pieces haven't played yet. They haven't meshed with this defense, and they are new to the scheme. except for Bobby Wagner. Teron Reed, maybe not so much, but he's still a bit new to it. And they also brought in some secondary depth as well with Julian Love. So for the moves they made, I will definitely think they could get better on the defensive side of the ball and hopefully be able to stop the run that clearly hurt them a lot last year and cost them a lot of games. So how do they do in the draft? Well, the draft was a little bit of a question mark for Seahawks. No one really knew what they were going to do. Some people thought they were going to go with Anthony Richardson with their 5th overall pick. Well, unfortunately, he didn't go that far as he got picked number 4th overall by the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, if they got Anthony Richardson, he would have sat behind Geno Smith, which probably would have been a lot better for him because he would have been able to develop and learn behind Geno and learn a system, sort of being thrown into the fire and be able to develop. But we'll see how he does in Indianapolis. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and prove a lot of experts wrong, saying that he could have gone day one in a lot of schemes. But who do they take? Well, they took Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois and followed that pickup with Jackson Smith and Jigba. So first off, the 2 picks that they got were possibly the 2 best players at their position in the draft. So, in my opinion, if that was all the picks they had, they would have gotten an A+ draft. But they also selected Derek Hall, Zach Charbonnet, and Mike Morris. These 3 guys are people I will believe will have impacts day one, but they won't have to play as big a role because of the signings that they have and are current players. Zach Charbonnet is going to work well with Kenneth Walker. Derek Hall will come in and probably have to have a huge impact, but that's only the big 3 out of them that will have to have an impact. And Mike Morris will probably come in and work behind Draymond Jones or whoever is the current defensive tackle and be able to develop and possibly even stop the run that they have a big struggle with. Now, the selection I'm in love with this team is Olusegun Oluwami, who I think could be the steal of the draft for the Seahawks. He's a former Remington Trophy winner from Michigan. That's the trophy for the best center in college football. Now, if this is a steal for them, fantastic move, but it also is a flyer on the dude. If he could be really good for the Seahawks, that's just going to be showing you how they can just draft in later rounds and develop these players into just all pros or Pro Bowlers and just continuing to do that and make this team good for years to come, because if they continue to hit in the later rounds, that just means they have so much depth on this team, because if you miss on the first round pick and then hit on the later round picks, it kind of evens out everything. Now, my honest opinion on this team is the Seahawks definitely did get better. Now, how much better is yet to be shown because, well, they haven't played a game yet. I don't know if this defense is fixed because they haven't really played a game. Like I've said, they haven't played a game yet. So I don't know if this defense is fully fixed. They definitely got better on paper, and hopefully they will be better of a team because the NFC West is weak, so they obviously could easily sweep the Rams and the Cardinals. So that's 4 wins just off the bat if they sweep them. And then they could split the series with San Francisco, and that's just 5 wins to 1 loss. So there we go. That could be a very type of easy schedule that the Seahawks have, at least in the division, besides the 49ers. So really, what is the season banking on? Well, the hope of Geno Smith in his 2022 season wasn't a fluke, and he can really truly be the quarterback one for a few years. Obviously, age is going to catch up to him, so he might regress in these next few years, but as long as he can produce at a decent level and be someone that the team can build around and hopefully develop these young cores that they're going to build for the next few years, I think this team is going to be good, and I think this team can be fine. But it all depends on how the defense is and how Geno Smith plays. So I thank you all for watching. Please click that like button to make sure it turns blue. Click the notification bell and subscribe so you're notified for any videos in the future. Have a good day, everyone.